My name is Abdul Gafoor. I am from Kerala, doing the business of restaurant from the last 26 years. I have a story to tell you. Before I say my story, I have two questions. In India, there are a lot of food and food cultures, and Indians are loving food very well. Then why Indian food brands are not going to the across the world like KFC, McDonald's, and Domino's, etc. The second question, why do the most of restaurants are in the sustainable and survival stage and others are going to fail and not make good profit? The answer I know, therefore I am here in front of you. 26 years ago, in 1998, when I started my business, I was doing the business on my two core values: do it right and do it better. In that time, everything was doing myself, and I was used to work in the purchasing, inventory, and staff interactions, and customer satisfaction. Everything I was used myself. And that time, everyone around me were very happy, and so that I got a lot of opportunities also to do the business as my interest. But after a lot of tries and attempts, I couldn't open a second restaurant without compromising my two core values. And I understood that I cannot able to delegate my accountabilities without clarity and visibility. After a long time, I also heard about the software and computer, and I also became a part of software and computer. And my first software was customized, and it was not smooth to work and go with a head. Then we found another one good software, good offline software, and we were happy with that. And we started to expand our business, and we reached in multiple business, multiple outlets. In that time, we faced another challenges, and we were stuck in front of the consistency and employees attritions and lot of financial issues also. There is a common belief in public that in the restaurants they are getting lot and making lot of profit, near to 50% margin, and also the MNC and another big teams also, they are making good profit also. So the really in the traditional and business in the restaurants, good restaurants have even not getting above 50% margin. Average restaurants are getting only 5 to 7 or maximum 8% margin. So there we started to search and learn more, and finally we realized that most of the software available in the markets are built as a POS and instead of an ERP, and it's are built by engineers and architects, and they are built upon a user interface, very beautiful user interface, instead of the back end and practical issues solving. So we decided to build a software from our practical knowledge and from our practical experience, and we started to build it from the back end, and the ERP is the base of the requirement of a hotelier, and the system process is the right need and right requirement of a restaurant instead of the skill and emotions. That we realized, and we started to we decided to make a own software. Now it is running in our all counters. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Safwan from Trades, and this is a very complicated story to tell in 10 minutes because the story started before last year's conference, and then here we are in the next conference, and it somewhat goes like a non-linear storytelling, like how Christopher Nolan says his story, right? It's all messy, it goes in different directions, but the first part would be familiar for everyone here, all the people who are service providers. The first part begins with you discovering an ERP, you having a lot of confidence in implementing that, and then you deciding to go ahead. And that also include another part where Rushab motivates you over coffee, saying, yeah, go ahead, man, it's easy, you can do it, right? So this is the two things that would lead you to take the leap. And there was also one nudge from the ERPNext team, which they might be unaware of. So most of you, when you get a client, you might search through the ERPNext module and look for the module exists or not, right? Kind of gives you the confidence, should you go ahead or not. You might not do your research, you'll just, okay, ERPNext has it, so you'll just send a proposal, and then you'll go ahead with that, right? So there was a restaurant experimental module in ERPNext, and we did not look closely, right? We saw that, and then we gave the proposal. And then the moment we started to go ahead with the presentation, I mean, towards the proposal, and we started working, we discovered that it was not a full-fledged restaurant management system. It didn't even have any connection to POS and all. So I had a word with Rushab. He said, like, I coded it over the weekend, right? So in a way, I think that's a very good strategy for the ERPNext team, maybe, to nudge people to do things. Like, you feel like, okay, the module exists, and then you are already deep inside the project, and you have no choice, right? No, you have to develop it. So that's the story how we began with this. And then obviously Frappe Incubator program helped us, guided us in the right direction. And on other side, we had a very big restaurant chain who was speaking a language that I don't understand. But then I was able to translate. They were talking about KPIs, they were talking about reports, they were talking about controls, checks, but in their own language. And they were already doing that with paperwork and all. And then they were talking about building from scratch. So that's when we introduced them to ERPNext, and we told them, like, most of the things you want is there. You just have to build on top of that, right? But again, we underestimated the problem very much. Like when you imagine about a restaurant, you say, okay, you have a POS and you have a printer in the kitchen and you need an app which could punch in orders. So we underestimated that. When I show you the team size that worked on this, you'll understand how complicated it went, right? So at some point, we had engineers in at least 3 branches of this restaurant working on ground, fixing live problems, real time for different branches, right? And so this would be an architecture how this works. You have the framework below, then you have ERPNext as the most important app right now. Then we have a KOT system which deals with the kitchen order. And when we speak about KOT, that was the most complicated part. Like, this is something we thought the network printer module would just help. We did not even give focus in the estimate, right? But we spend maybe 20-25% of the total time of the project optimizing KOT. Another one would be the table order thing, which Rushab had done as a quick project, wherein you take orders, you punch order for each tables, right? So these 2 modules were most complicated. I'll take you to the story. And obviously, Frappe Incubation Program was a great help for this. And we came up with different modules. Like, we came up with the Captain app, and we came up with the KOT app. One of the biggest challenge we faced was that you are sitting in the office room, you are developing this app, everything works, and you are giving this to the accountants and back office people who are taking the calls in the restaurant, and then you launch it in the first branch, right? And nothing works. Nothing works in the sense the restaurant order takers are not happy. They are complaining, they are not taking orders, and then we go there, and then suddenly you realize how fast they are working, right? So this particular app was rebuilt 3 times. So first it was built on top of Rishabh's code, then we moved it out into another app in ERPNext and built it as an ERPNext page itself. Then we moved out to Vue.js application, and then we rebuilt it again on React Native, because that was the kind of optimization they needed, right? And it's not like performance optimization, it's often user experience. Like the moment they click on the quantity button, it should pop up without anything in that. Even if it has a 0 value, if they have to do a backspace, that kind of breaks the flow, how they take orders, right? And then another key thing that we did was like we extended the existing posts within ERPNext to incorporate the restaurant features, like which has to do with tables, which has to do with orders that are kept in draft, which has to be built later on. And the third and most important part that we realized after working with this particular restaurant client was that restaurant was an industry that had a huge advantage, that they could actually calculate their P&L every day, because their cost of goods sold, their consumption of their electricity, everything could be calculated on the same day. So it suddenly felt like this was one domain that could actually operate with a lot of control, but it also was a domain which had 0 control, which had 0 visibility. And when you start to look at the software that's available in the market, it comes to the point which Gafoor told you, right? You see a lot of post companies, and these post companies will have ERP kind of solution as an add-on, right? They will have inventory as an add-on, they will have financial reporting as an add-on. So it's built from top to bottom, and if you ask for bigger solutions, they will ask you to do an SAP integration, or they will ask you for doing some Tally integrations. And the problem with the integration again, so while we started this work, we knew our problem was ERP problem. So we spoke to Pet Puja and we asked them for integration. Like we told them like we have a chain of restaurants. This is before we came to last conference, and we told them like we are trying to build a solution and we want the posts there, we'll have the ERP. But they were not giving any integration that is usable. Like they will push you reports and all, but you cannot have a real-time thing, right? Because they are building a very closed system, and it helps and it protects their interest. So that again motivated us to go ahead, because very clearly the monopoly was very clear. Like as we speak, I think even in Kerala, maybe 70 to 80% restaurants are running on Pet Puja. I think that's a story all over India, right? They're kind of getting into all places and all restaurants. It's a good tool in a way, but it's very dangerous where you suddenly have closed system becoming the monopoly in an industry, right? So I think what we are doing is in that way very critical. And we branded it Yuri. It will be available in yuri.app. As we speak, we are restructuring and pushing it to GitHub. So we are expecting to take at least 2 more weeks for it to be reorganized and released. And we have branded a few parts of it as Yuri Post, Yuri Serve. Yuri Mosaic is again the most important part, which is a KOT display, which gives the kitchen a display where they could get all their KOTs on time, and they could actually mark when they start serving it and when they have finished serving it. Kind of gives them another level of analytics when the order came in, when they started preparing, and when the particular order was delivered, and it gives them some KPIs from store to store. Right now Yuri is running in almost 8 outlets of Mr. Gafoor, and as of today they have billed close to 3.5 crore on the system. So I don't say it's production ready yet, but it's working really well for them. It has been running in their first store for last 6 months, and in one of their biggest store that you can experience would be Lulu Mall in Cochin, which it's one of the biggest restaurant in Lulu Mall, which Mr. Gafoor represents, and they do a business of around 60 lakhs per month in that one particular counter, and this system is running there for last 2 months without any serious issues, which takes us to the final discussion. Before I end, I'll just skip through this and we'll go directly into this. This is something I think Rushab disagrees with most here. A few people told me Rushab don't agree about offline posts, right? So I had few words. So one of our experience, and I was that believer. I have actually fought with this client as well, saying like we won't build offline, right? And convinced them to take 3 internet connections in a branch. I told them it's still cheaper to take 3 internet connections. So they have 2 broadband connection and they have a backup data plan, and to be honest, doesn't work. And I'm talking about a city like Cochin, it still fails, right? And they purchased another machine that would do, a device that would do automatic switching between these connections, right? It will load balance, it will manage health. Even after that, it doesn't work, right? And the problem for that is mainly because it's not like, and I had a Jio example and someone told, Rushab also quoted Jio, right? I said Jio is running online in their old stores, right? The problem is Jio doesn't need Redis queue. People are queued in the counter, right? Like they have a queue by design. But restaurants are not like that. They're horizontally scaled, right? You have tables, you have people taking orders parallelly, right? And during a weekend on the peak hour, if there are like 35 tables, these orders come together, right? And now this order has to go into the KOD system. The KOD system has certain things like, imagine you have, for example, let's say you have a full chicken, I'll give an example of a chicken, a full chicken available in the stock. That could be sold as a half chicken, a quarter, or 4 quarters, or a full chicken, right? So there might be different waiters punching in quarter, half, full. Initially, they all might have the stock, right? Now there are algorithms that checks these and then push it to the KOT displays. And there are 2 KOT displays, one facing the waiter, one facing the, so these are all internet connected devices, right? Imagine one display, internet switches or we had live issue last week. Over in Lulu Mall, the waiter side display had the KOT, but the kitchen chef did not see the KOT, right? So the kitchen chef is not preparing it. So this kind of problem comes up, and you know how entitled customers are in restaurant, right? So after the 20th minute, where's my order? And the waiter doesn't have the luxury of going and saying, sorry, we made a mistake, right? Without having a fight. So we don't know the solution. We are actively looking for different ways of solving this, without having to have a very large server and implementation in every store, because that's not scalable, because you have to maintain them. But this is a discussion we have to have, and I believe all retail counters which have this kind of traffic will face this. And I don't know which whole country has these issues, but India definitely has. Like we have multiple internet connections from multiple ISPs with all the tech that is available in the market, switching these connections and mobile data backup, and it still fails, right? So this was a major challenge that we faced throughout in this development. And I told you about the team size, right? I actually imagined I will build this with 2 engineers, right? And that was my estimate for the project. And I thought I'll finish it in 6 months. We are right now 1 year and 2 months. And all these people have coded and worked on modules. And the problem was, once we are live in 4 branches, different branches will have different issues. You cannot put that into your your backlog and Jira and wait for it. This is running live, right? So you need these people to work on these solutions real time. And at some point, we did not have any other project in the company other than maintaining the existing one. We were just building this, right? And some of them are backend people. Some of them are DevOps who are trying to solve how we can print from the cloud to the offline printers. So I think that's all I have. Maybe we can take questions.